The stories shared on the Busy Baddies are submitted by real listeners and are intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. To protect the privacy of everyone involved, all names, companies, and identifying details have been changed or omitted. Any resemblance to real people or events are purely coincidental. We believe in keeping it real while keeping it respectful. Thank you for sharing your experiences and for trusting us to spill the tea with care.
When the lights go low and the real work begins, this is the Busy Baddies.
Where assistants come uncensored, the stories get spicy, and the corporate filter, Control Alt Delete.
I'm Michelle, EA to the CEO of a Fortune 150 company,
And I'm Mel, former C Suite EA turned admin rebel.
and we're here to talk about the real stuff, the stories that never make it to the all hands meeting. Hey, baddies, we're back with another episode, and we're talking confidence. And why does it feel so hard in the admin role?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I don't think when you start being an EA that you have, but it's definitely kind of like working out, time over time, the muscle gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more that you use it. But confidence is definitely very key. I think we even touched on that in one of the previous episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. My background was not in an admin role.
Hmm.
So I went to school and got a bachelor's in hotel, restaurant,
Hmm.
resort management. So still very much people focused, but not on an individual. So when I was applying for this role, my leader saw the parallels
Hmm.
of being in the hospitality field and how that could play into being a great EA.
Hmm.
So I remember I was probably in the role maybe 2 to 3 weeks, completely overwhelmed, had no idea what I really was doing,
Hmm.
and started quickly asking myself, what the hell did I just get myself
Yeah.
into? So I was sitting in a conference room and it just kind of released, and I just had a full out cry session alone in this room, bawling my eyes out, having regret of the role that I left, that I
Oh.
loved, and really feeling like I I messed up,
Yeah.
and now what do I do?
Yeah.
So there were little tiny windows in the side of these rooms, and I remember another coworker had peeked in because you're in those glass rooms and you can't help
Hmm.
but look in the
Right.
window of every single one that
Right.
you're going through. So she saw, I'm sure my face was
Hmm.
red, I was crying, and so she opened the door and said, "Can I come in?" And just kind of grabbed me and was like, "What's wrong?" And I just remember saying, "I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing."
Hmm.
And she said something so simple that I was a little embarrassed that I hadn't thought of it this
Hmm.
way, but she said, "You're not her."
Oh.
And I was in the seat thinking I had to answer emails for her, like literally for
Yeah.
her, like in her voice, in her,
Hmm.
in thinking about it now, I'm like, what an idiot. Like, why would I have thought that I literally was supposed to be acting
Hmm.
like the leader I was supporting? And from that moment on, it had just clicked.
Yeah.
And I started then building the confidence.
Hmm.
And it was so eye opening and yet so silly all at the same time. But I mean, that's that's what happened to me.
Yeah, but I think that goes back to being the perfectionist that you said that you are and putting that pressure on yourself of having to perform at X level when really that was probably never even her expectation for you in the role, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so making clear understandings of what do you expect, because I think that's a great point where every leader is so different and they utilize us so different that what one person may expect, the next one may be overstepping,
Absolutely.
which then could be a little bit of a backfire and a confidence killer because you get reprimanded for it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, and it was even, coming from hospitality and moving
Mhm.
into a manufacturing, company.
Mhm.
I mean, it was night and day.
Yeah.
And so from that moment on, I just kind of looked at my leader as my walking event,
Mhm.
my walking party
Yep.
or, wedding
Yep.
and I just kind of flipped that mindset
Yep.
to where it applied to the world I had
Mhm.
grown up in.
Yep.
And, it then built from there.
Yeah, and I think that that's a great call out too, is there's so many careers out there to anybody who maybe isn't an executive assistant or is thinking, I would like to be an assistant. I think my skills are transferable. There's a lot of parallels in a lot of different industries even, for you to point out customer service is huge because you are serving a customer as the stakeholder's
Yeah.
assistant. Project management is another one that's very transferable for people because instead of the leader being, a project, you have actual projects. So there's a lot of transferable skills. So I would encourage anybody who has thought about being an EA, who thinks, well, I don't have the background. I've never done X, Y, and Z. I've never done this. There's a lot of skills that you can reapply in being an EA. And I think that's the beauty of being an EA is it's such a versatile, you meet people from so many different walks of life.
Yeah, and the skills are probably what the majority of us
Mhm.
have anyways. It's just then how do you tailor those skills to
Mhm.
really hone in
Yep.
on the leader you support, the type of work or
Mhm.
company that you're working for, and building from there?
Yeah. And I think another thing that's very important with, why confidence is hard is around, the way that we internalize, even going back to last week's episode of speaking, or a couple episodes actually, about, the loneliness at the top and how the internal dialogue that we have with ourselves
Mhm.
about, am I too outspoken? Am I too much? Am I, you know, and just going to the part of, you underestimate yourself, but then also another side to that is you can also be underestimated by your peers,
Yeah.
by the person that you work for if they really don't have a clear understanding of what EAs do,
Mhm.
which then in turn also kills your confidence.
Yeah. I mean, and you're working around people that are brilliant.
Yeah.
Um, and all oftentimes I'll say unrelatable
Mhm.
to the life that you have,
Yep.
whether that's inside of work, outside of work.
Mhm.
And so I feel even in some of our leaders' roles, I don't want to say that they don't take us seriously,
Mhm.
but there can be those leaders to where it just doesn't feel like they back you
Mhm.
in the whole thing of being an EA. It can certainly be a lucrative career for people,
Right. 100%.
and that can chip away at the confidence
Mhm.
because you can, in your mind, be thinking, "I wanna do this forever, I wanna grow, I wanna
Mhm.
build, here's the skills I think I could do better at to improve in all of this stuff," and
Mhm.
then you have, leaders asking, what do you wanna do in the next 5 years?"
Mhm.
And you gotta sit back, "Why? Can I not keep
Yeah.
doing this?"
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fantastic career.
It is
And
very lucrative, and we'll get into that in another episode, even pointing out the salary guide,
yeah,
which I think a lot of people don't know is out there because you are your best advocate when it comes to knowing what your worth is. And a key to that is having the confidence to either speak up for yourself or, have the hard conversations of saying, I feel like I'm being undersold. Like I
yeah,
bring X to the table.
right.
So if your leader isn't getting it, call it out.
Well, yeah, and even if you have a leader who's, anxious and worried
hmm
when you're on vacation,
There's your value.
hello,
Yeah.
absolutely,
100%. Yep.
absolutely. I mean, you can't sit here and say that you don't add value
hmm
if they are already worried about the vacation that
hmm
you're going to take.
Yep. Make yourself invaluable.
Mhm.
There's a confidence booster right there,
Yeah,
which is a
absolutely.
great segue into, how do you build the confidence muscle per se?
Yeah.
You know, I think one thing is, you have to own your wins. Your boss isn't going to see everything that you do, but your time to really shine is your mid-year and your year-end review, which where we work is a very big thing. And I always tell people, get way more feedback than you need
Absolutely.
or you want. Feedback is a gift, as my last leader just told me, and I never really looked at it that way, whether it
Mhm.
be good or bad, because if someone's willing to be honest with you to tell you what you need to improve upon, that's a gift
Right.
because not everybody's gonna tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So I
And write the things
mhm.
down
Yep,
that are I don't want to say
yep,
outside of scope, but
mhm,
maybe something you did so well, or there was just something that you really had to work hard to achieve.
mhm,
And make notes of that. I mean, there have been more times in my reviews when I just do real quick bullets.
mhm.
I mean, we're not talking
Right.
writing a book,
Right.
but I had sat down and my leader would say, "I had no idea you did all of this."
Mhm,
Because they don't see the other stuff that we do in our role.
mm-mm,
And so that's a great opportunity to showcase what you're doing above and beyond
mhm.
supporting them.
Yep,
And I mean, to be able to walk out of that room knowing they learned something
right.
that they had no idea you were doing, um, don't be afraid to highlight that
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah. Another good way that I found in all the years that I was an EA was I never came to a leader without a solution to the problem I was presenting, or if they came to me with a problem, not being able to readily come up with a solution.
Hmm.
So that also is a big value add because leaders don't have time to figure things out most of the time.
Hmm.
And if you come to them and say, oh gosh, like I just can't get everybody's calendar together for the date that you asked, insert, but I was able to find an alternative. I can make it work for you. It may be at X cost, but don't ever come and say, I can't do something. Come with a solution, which is, I think, such a huge confidence builder, not only for you, but for the person you work for as well.
Oh yeah, and part of confidence is, having that initiative
hmm
to find things that you can do before your leader's even going to ask you to do it.
1000%.
And those are some of the favorite my favorite things that I like to do in
hmm
my job, because nothing feels better than, sitting with your leader and she has their list, and while they're saying, "Here's the things I need you to do," to be
right.
able to say, "I already did that,
Yep.
that's set up,
hmm
and, handled that."
Yep.
I mean, that's
Oh,
huge.
huge. I love when I would have those one-on-ones, and I proactively was looking the month ahead or whatever it was, and knowing the flights that the stakeholder wanted to take because based on their preferred flight times or, favorite airline or whatever it was, I already knew that it was gonna be a Thursday to a Sunday trip. So let me just go ahead and proactively book that. Worst case, I have to change it,
Yeah.
but emphatically, 9 times out of 10, I knew exactly what they wanted already.
Yeah.
So doing that and then them saying, "Oh, I didn't know you booked that 3 weeks ago. It looks like the flights are already on the calendar." Confidence, check.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, and most of these leaders, they're in the minute, looking
Mhm.
at the next hour.
Yep.
They are not looking even to next week.
No. They're
And
living minute by minute.
right. And so be that person to where, you can put their mind at ease
Mhm.
because you're being more proactive on the future.
Mhm.
I think that's a one very easy thing that anybody can do.
Absolutely. And I think another really big thing too would be a lot of times we don't think that, it's important to understand what the boss does, what the business unit is that they support. Be in the know of what is in your boss's wheelhouse and what they manage and know their side of the business or their side of the house. If it's
Mhm.
the CFO, learn the finances of the business, get into the annual meeting stuff, learn, and another thing too is when you hire at a company, there is nothing more attractive than asking about the financials. How successful was the company?
Yeah.
You will blow someone's mind when you ask that
Yeah.
information because
Yeah.
they're going to be like, we have senior people we've hired who haven't asked that.
Right.
But it shows that you have the business acumen to know, wow, they really get it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for you, even in the leader that you support now and kind of have evolved in different transitions before, you know, how how did you learn the business that she was in and how was that helpful? I think that would be a great,
Yeah. One thing that I did in the role changes that we had and my leaders encouraged me to do was to meet one on one with those on the team.
Mhm.
It one helped me establish relationships
Mhm.
with all of the different team members and then to just get a real overview of what they did and how it tied into the team that my leader was, over at the time.
Mhm.
Because I think also when you can create and nurture a relationship with the team as a whole,
Mhm.
it also builds confidence because who knows throughout the day what other leaders may want. And
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, you may report to one
Mhm.
specific person, but when they're a part of a team, sometimes being able to help them
Mhm.
can also help, not only for your personal growth of confidence building of,
Mhm.
oh, look, and this person's even going to trust in me and ask me to do
Mhm.
something. It gives you credibility with your leader.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I heard you helped so and so. That, was really nice and
Yeah.
whatever the case.
Yeah.
All of those little things builds confidence and you may not even realize that it's doing that.
No, and I think the more confidence that you build with your leader, it in turn causes them, and I think you and I have talked about this before, is, it causes them to then advocate on your behalf in their either leadership teams or amongst their peers, which to me is kind of a light bulb moment of, "Oh my gosh, they really do have
Yeah,
confidence in me."
your voice actually then
Yeah,
means something.
yeah. Have you
Whether
experienced that before?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, being in specific, for an example, I'll use communications.
Mhm.
Whether it's a keynote speech, a panel,
Mhm.
town hall, all employee meeting.
Yep.
I'm sitting in those meetings for major items because I'm one of the closest people to my leader.
Mhm.
And so I have a very, you know, tailored insight
Mhm.
or, what to how I think she's going to come across, or
Mhm.
my feedback is just different than the comms person who is helping write the speech and
Mhm.
hitting all of the boxes of what the presentation's supposed to be, but I'm listening
From a totally different
for a
viewpoint.
totally
Yeah.
different viewpoint.
Yeah.
And talk about the confidence that builds
Mhm.
when you feel like you're just as important to be
Mhm.
sitting in that room
Yep.
as the other people.
Yeah.
And to be looked at and say, Michelle, what do you think?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, and so I would encourage anybody out there, if there's a comms piece of their leader's role, and it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be anything major,
No.
to ask if you can sit in on
Mhm.
those and build confidence, and in knowing that nobody knows the leader like you do.
No. And all of that is a stepping stone. That's a great point because early on, I always try to sit in anything that is me being able to learn their voice. Being in the inbox, living and breathing it doesn't give you the tone,
Right.
doesn't give you their voice per se. But if there's a interview they're going to do for a magazine article, sit on that Zoom call. Listen to what the questions are being asked. Take notes. So really the bottom line is, any chance that you have to learn that leader's voice, to sit in an opportunity, to listen to them speak is going to give you far much more insight than an email inbox. There's just nothing more real than that.
No, and don't be discouraged that this is something that's going to happen overnight, because
Mhm.
it certainly
Yep.
will just build over time, especially for our newer
Mhm.
EAs listening out there.
Yeah.
Um, Confidence isn't built overnight.
No.
And so just be mindful
Mhm.
of the growth and all of the work and things that where you see you can step in
Mhm.
that will help build that.
Yeah, because I think it took me, if I'm being really candid, probably about the 15-year mark of and I think the reason for that was at that time, I had got better at aligning myself with leaders who saw my value, who infused confidence into me, which
Yeah.
was helpful, and also helped me find my voice in order to exude confidence.
And
So
how cool is that?
I know, and like, which kind of segues natural into what the next kind of point we wanted to hit is leadership looks different for an EA role versus the people maybe that we support
Mhm.
because I think we may necessarily not have authority, but we have influence,
Yeah.
which I think personally is far greater than authority. I don't want authority. I don't want to manage people.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them out on when they're sick. I would be a bleeding heart for people who reported to me, but
Right.
the influence piece is where it's at.
And especially the fact that the influence piece is not
Mhm.
necessarily visual.
Right.
So it's also one of those skills that I think you may not even realize
You have.
you have it, you're doing it, where
Mhm.
you're doing it.
Yep.
And that's one of the neat parts of
Mhm.
the job
Yeah.
is, once that trust and relationship is formed
Mhm.
and you have a good foundation and confidence is building, that's where you can really help the leadership of, you know, you're so close to so much work
Mhm.
that, you just kind of slip something in, whether you're having just a nonchalant conversation,
Mhm.
and here you are, just influencing,
Not even knowing.
not even knowing.
Yep. Which is great, and I think I think the call out is when you lead, you can guide your exec with clarity. You give them the 30,000 feet view where they can see everything that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Like, when you have the confidence to help them have clarity, oh, you're magical. Like, you will
Yeah.
always hear it, which to me is also kind of a buzzword, which always kind of pissed me off too, to be honest. When anybody was like, "Oh my god, you're so wonderful, you're so great." To me, that was an indication I was being underpaid.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like,
I
if
like that.
I'm like, so if anybody's telling you you're a unicorn, you're magical,
Yeah.
you're this, you're that, you're
Yeah.
like, okay, let's put your money where your mouth is then,
Yeah.
because if I'm so magical, then at the end of the year when we're doing year interviews, show me how magical I am.
Yeah, and that brings up, just a recent item. I was trying to arrange some customer meetings, and there was one customer that we were just trying to
Mhm.
land, and, just wasn't really getting any, uh, assistance, let's just say, of getting that on the calendar.
Mhm.
And then, you know, we're talking weeks of trying to do this,
Mhm.
and you are at a point of you there's only so much you can do sometimes,
Yeah.
to where I know that that's not the answer that leaders want to hear, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we
Mhm.
can't force anything to happen.
Man, if we could though.
Yeah, and I came in one morning and I had an email from this customer's admin, and finally got a response on, "Yep, that date worked." And I was so excited because I knew how important this
Mhm.
meeting was to wrap up, this customer trip. And I was so excited to give that news to, my boss, and to see her face of like, "Yeah,
You did it.
you did it." And, it wasn't even anything that was so out of the norm that I really did,
Mhm.
which is often some of our work, right? Like,
Right.
sometimes it's just the luck of stars aligning, the
Mhm.
calendar gods, I mean, you
Yep.
name it.
Yep.
But to have that checked off of the box,
Mhm.
and then, have it followed up with, "Man, we need to, get a bonus," or something like that. It's also, it just reminded
Yes.
me of that, of like, "Yeah, let's, put your money where your mouth
It
is. I'll
is.
I'll take that."
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
keep at it. You never
exactly.
know when it's gonna pay off, and, certainly, as we talked earlier in the show, add that to your little bullet list of,
Mhm.
"Hey, don't forget that, I never gave up on this, and, we got it locked in."
Yep, and I think tying back to the episode 2 weeks ago where we talked about the power of team, not only can you have influence on your leader, but you can also have influence on the peers that you have amongst you,
Mhm.
because you have the right ears that you can bend and advocate on the people that sit under your team to help get them where they need to be and help insert confidence into them. Because,
Absolutely.
if you see or know something that maybe someone is doing that's stellar, lift that person up.
Yes.
Again, it goes back to being a part of a team.
Yeah, pull them in. Ask them to help you do something to give them that exposure.
And when they make $5,000 more a year, guess what? Yours goes up to 10 because you're higher up on the food chain.
Yeah.
So when we win and we advocate for other people, you only increase the money that you're going to end up making in the long run. So, that just ties back to that, but that's a great point.
Okay, baddies, it's tea
Tea time.
time. All right, so we had asked, for some submissions, and we got a story from Anonymous Baddie in Chi-Town. Shout out to Chicago.
Love Chicago.
So it says, "I used to just nod and execute. One day I said to my VP, 'That plan won't work. Here's why.' He paused, then said, 'That's the kind of thinking I need.' That day changed everything. I wasn't just an assistant anymore. I became his partner."
She became a baddie too.
Yeah,
I hate to inform her. If she didn't think she was one before, she
she
is
is now.
now.
Yeah.
And then we got another one from New York City where she is talking about the overbooked executive, and she wrote in, the CEO was about to commit to flying cross country for a client dinner the night before a major board presentation. The dinner mattered, but the travel would leave him jet lagged and unprepared for the board. So she goes in to talk about a little bit further down how she kind of stepped in,
Mhm.
and she said, I calmly waited until, he had had a chance to review his calendar. We were sitting across from each other. I made direct eye contact with him and said, I need to flag a risk. If you go to that dinner, you'll walk into the board meeting at 60%. And this is one meeting of the year where you need to be at 100%. My recommendation is attend virtually, save the in person for the next West Coast trip. You'll get the relationship win and protect your performance in front of the board. And it ties back to what I said, where, having the confidence of saying, come with a problem and a solution, which
Yeah.
is exactly what she did, and she lined up the dinner, the logistics to follow up on the next trip, and everything worked out great.
Yeah, and and on the flip side of that, because this has happened to myself, is sometimes the leader is willing to take the risk
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
And so don't get discouraged if, you built up that confidence
Sure.
to, raise this issue,
Mhm.
but then the executive still says,
Mhm.
I gotta go.
Yep.
And then, you know, it can kind of turn into, well, now what do I need to do
Right.
to ensure the maximum, I guess, rest, if you will, because at
Right.
this scenario specifically, that's what's going to suffer
Mhm.
is how do I make sure that they go, have a great dinner, and then are still as well rested as I can get
Mhm.
them for the board meeting.
Yep.
So, you may have the confidence to raise it, but just remember it also may not have the outcome
Mhm.
that you think.
Yeah.
And then it just as we as executives, we then have to spring into plan B
Right.
and very quickly um start figuring out plan B and what does that
C,
mean?
D, E,
Yeah,
F, G.
absolutely. It's plans for everybody.
Yeah, and another way to even keep the confidence, like, don't let that kill your
No.
confidence. Go ahead and when they come back from that trip, ask them, "Hey, just to circle back to what my suggestion was, I know you didn't go with that, but
Mhm.
hindsight, do you think that would have worked out better? Because that helps me only get better if this scenario ever comes up again.
Yeah.
Because maybe you changed your mind after you went through it and maybe you would have not, took the trip and did it virtual,
Yeah, absolutely.
so no shame in asking the questions, trying to get
Yeah.
clarity at all.
So let's put some confidence in action. 5 power moves. So these are some things that we think you can easily do and kind of start practicing. So how about we say I recommend instead of I think maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Track your leadership wins weekly, which
Great idea.
we've mentioned that.
Mhm.
Ask bold questions in meetings.
Love this one.
And I've struggled with that too of
Sure.
is my question going to be stupid? Are they going to look at me and go, "Yeah, that's why you're the EA."
Because you want to be the quiet one
Yeah,
who's unseen, unheard,
that's
right?
right. So speak up. Volunteer to lead one cross-functional problem. Sorry, project
Mhm.
and build a squad. Confidence multiplies when you're not doing it alone.
Agree. So, if you take anything away from this episode, please just let it be you don't need permission to lead. You don't need permission to exude confidence. Surround yourself with constant confidence people. Learn from people who maybe exude confidence or you think there's no shame in saying, "Hey, I don't have confidence, but I want to get it."
Well, yeah, you're hired because you're capable.
Absolutely. Yep. And stop waiting for somebody else to tell you you're ready. Start telling yourself because, that's the only voice that really matters in the end is you're
Absolutely.
accountable to yourself and your leader. So, that's our call to action, I guess you would say, but Michelle, do you have anything else to close with?
No, I think like the more you practice it, the more natural
Mhm.
it's going to be, because especially for our newer EAs out there, that's the hard part of this
Mhm.
job, I think,
Yep.
is just learning where you fit in.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
So don't be afraid to step in and fit in
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share, with all your EAs and keep showing up like a boss every single day and, the confidence will happen. But till next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and always stay bad.
See you later.
Bye. That's it for us today, bringing order to corporate chaos.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that follow button.
Yours truly, Melissa,
And Michelle,
the
the
Busy
Busy
Baddies.
Baddies.